Have you ever stopped to think about why some people are simply unshakable? No matter the chaos around them, no matter the crisis, no matter the failure, these people get up, adjust, and keep going. And then there are those other people, intelligent, talented people with good intentions, who start out strong, enthusiastic, full of plans, and then, after a few weeks, they vanish. They disappear. They return to square one as if nothing had happened. Do you know anyone like that? Or have you ever been that person? Science has an answer. A study published by University College London revealed that it takes an average of 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic, not 21 days, as the popular myth says. 66 days. And most people give up before completing 2 weeks. But the fact remains, the problem isn't a lack of discipline. It's the fact that most people don't even know why they give up. People simply give up, as if there was something inside them sabotaging every attempt. The Japanese called this a root problem. You don't have a habit problem, you have an identity problem. You don't act inconsistently because you lack discipline. You act inconsistently because you haven't yet decided who you are. And a very famous samurai understood this in 1600, centuries before neuroscience had words for it. In 1612, a man arrived hours late to the most important duel of his life. His opponent was the most feared swordsman in Japan. The crowd waited on the island. Tension hung in the air, and that man arrived late with an oar in his hands, carved from the boat that had brought him there. In a matter of seconds, the duel was over. That man was Miyamoto Musashi. Musashi never lost a duel in his life, 0 defeats. And that happened because he understood something that few people understand even today. Consistency isn't about motivation, discipline, or willpower. Consistency is about who you become when no one is watching. And that's the hardest part of the process, doing what needs to be done when there are no applause, when there are no compliments, when often the only thing that exists is criticism from the people around you and your own internal doubts. But what I'm going to teach you in today's video will break all the old mechanisms of your mind. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how an American man named Luke discovered this the hard way, and how that discovery completely changed the trajectory of his life. And that's exactly what a mentor named Maximus taught Luke Harper, a man who had everything it took to be great, but who spent years sabotaging his own life without realizing it. Before I continue this story, I need to ask you something. If you're the type of person who refuses to live limiting your own potential, this channel is for you. Subscribe to the channel, because every week I publish videos like this one, deep yet practical and applicable videos. I also invite you to leave a like and click the hype button. Thank you for being here. Now, back to Luke. Chapter 1. The man who had everything and lost it all. Luke Harper was 30 years old and had the look of someone carrying something too heavy on his shoulders. It wasn't poverty or illness. It was worse than that. It was the feeling that you could have made it, but you didn't. 2 years earlier, Luke had founded an online store, an e-commerce site for fitness products. It seemed perfect. He was young, ambitious, had researched the market, had done the numbers, had even convinced 2 friends to invest. The plan was solid, but Luke wasn't solid. The problem was never the product. It was never the market. The problem was that Luke would get up at 10 in the morning when he needed to get up at 8. He would promise the supplier a delivery date and call 2 days later asking for more time. He hired people based on the lowest price, not quality. When money started to get tight, instead of cutting costs, he launched an aggressive promotion that generated sales but destroyed the profit margin. He didn't know how to lead because he had never learned how to lead himself. In 18 months, the company went bankrupt. The friends lost the money. One of them didn't speak to Luke for months, and Luke was left with something the lost money couldn't explain. A growing, silent and painful certainty that the problem was him, not the market, not luck, not the bad employees he hired. This conclusion may seem devastating, but it was the most important thing Luke ever thought about in his life, because as long as you believe the problem is external, you never solve it. When you understand that the problem is within you, you finally have something you can change. Luke spent the next few months reading reading everything he could find about leadership, discipline, mindset, business, podcasts, books, online courses. He was hungry in a way that bankruptcy had awakened in him. But information without transformation is just noise. And Luke knew he needed more than information. He needed someone who had lived what he wanted to build. Chapter 2. The Lecture and the Mentor. It was on a rainy Thursday in Phoenix that Luke walked into an auditorium to attend a lecture on mindset for entrepreneurs. He wasn't expecting much. He'd gone more out of boredom than genuine hope. He paid the cheap entrance fee, sat in the back, arms crossed, with the typical skepticism of someone who's been fooled by easy promises before. The speaker went up on stage. Maximus Reed was 52 years old, with grey hair combed back and the posture of someone who simply didn't care what others thought, not in an arrogant way, in the sense of someone so at peace with himself that the approval of others had become a minor detail. He didn't start with statistics. He didn't start with his own success story. He started with a question. How many of you have tried to change something in your lives and failed? Half the audience raised their hands. The other half were lying. How many of you have failed more than once at the same thing? Fewer hands, but Luke raised his. How many of you honestly believe that you will try again and fail in the same way? Silence. No one stood up, but Luke felt the weight of that question in his chest like a punch. It is precisely this silence, Maximus said, that interests me. He began to speak about a Japanese samurai who lived in the 17th century, a man who was born into a family of warriors, lost his father at the age of 7, survived the Battle of Sekigahara at 16, and spent his entire life perfecting not only the art of the sword, but the art of living with intention. Miyamoto Musashi. Luke had never heard that name before. But as Maximus spoke, something inside him began to make sense in a way that self-help books never had. Maximus explained that Musashi spent his entire life traveling throughout Japan, challenging the best swordsmen without formal schooling or a fixed master, and he never lost. 61 duels, 0 defeats. But the most impressive thing wasn't the number of victories. It was the fact that Musashi used the same principle in swordsmanship, painting, calligraphy, sculpture, and philosophy. For him, there was no separation between the warrior and the man. Training wasn't something he did, it was something he was. Musashi wrote a phrase that changed my life, Maximus said, stopping in the middle of the stage. Make your battle stance your everyday stance. He let the phrase hang in the air. What does this mean in practice? It means that there isn't a Luke who trains and a Luke who lives. There's only the Luke who was shaped by what he practiced every day. You are not who you want to be. You are who you practice being. Luke felt it run down his spine, because it was true in a way that hurt. He had spent 2 years wanting to be a great entrepreneur. But in practice, he practiced being inconsistent. He practiced giving in when things got tough. He practiced choosing comfort over necessity. And the result was exactly the sum of everything he practiced. Perhaps today you feel like Luke felt in that auditorium. Lost, having tried and failed so many times you can't even count them on your fingers. But know that the game of life is a marathon, not a 100-meter sprint. And in a marathon we accelerate. We get tired, we walk, we run, we climb, we rest. But only those who don't stop reach the end. At the end of the lecture, while most people were leaving discussing the business strategy section Maximus had touched on at the end, Luke remained seated, waiting, thinking. When the auditorium was almost empty, he stood up and went to the stage. Mr. Reed, Luke said with a directness he himself hadn't expected, I bankrupted a company, I lost friends' money, and I've heard more about Musashi in the last 40 minutes than in 30 years of my life. Do you offer mentorship? Maximus looked at him, attentively, the kind of attention you feel when someone is really watching you. My positions are closed. I know, Luke said, but I'm asking anyway. Silence. Maximus rested his hand on his chin, studying Luke's face. After a moment that seemed too long to be comfortable, he said, You have a different kind of sparkle in your eyes. Most people who come to me want shortcuts. You seem to want the truth. I want. The truth hurts. It's been hurting for 2 years now. I'd rather it hurt and change something. Maximus gave a slow smile. Come Saturday morning, 6 o'clock, bring a notebook. Chapter 3. The first lesson, the posture of daily life. Luke arrived at 5:58 a.m. at the address Maximus had given him. It was a small gym without modern equipment, smelling of old leather and wood. On the wall, a map of feudal Japan and a framed copy of an old calligraphy. Maximus was there, seated in a wooden chair with a cup of tea in his hands and the Book of 5 Rings on the table beside him. 6 o'clock sharp, Maximus said. Good choice. He wasn't one to waste words. He served Luke some tea, opened the notebook Luke had brought and said, Before we talk about Musashi, I need you to answer a question, and I need complete honesty. Not the kind of honesty people use when they want to appear honest. Real honesty. You can ask. During the time your company was operating, at what time of day were you most disciplined? Luke thought. When I had a meeting scheduled, when I had a client waiting, when I depended on someone to collect payment from me. And what about when no one was charging you? Luke lowered his eyes. I procrastinated. I let things pile up. So you were only consistent when consistency was mandatory. Try. That's not consistency, that's conformity. Maximus leaned forward. Musashi fought 61 duels. In all of them, inconsistency would have resulted in death. But what made him invincible wasn't what he did in the arena. It was what he did on the days when there was no duel, on the days when nobody was watching, on the days when there were no immediate consequences. He opened the Book of 5 Rings to a marked page. Musashi wrote, Do nothing that is not useful. That seems simple, but think about it. How much of your time in your company days was spent on useless things? Not useless in the sense of necessary relaxation. Useless in the sense of actions that you knew wouldn't get you anywhere, but that you did anyway because they were easy. Luke was silent for a moment. Then he said, Mostly. Exactly. And Musashi wasn't talking about perfection. He himself wasn't perfect. He lost political battles, he lost friends, he lost opportunities, but he never lost control over the direction, over the path. In Japanese, this has a name, Heiho. Strategy as a way of life, not as a tool to use in specific situations, as a permanent stance. Luke was writing while Maximus was speaking. Your problem, Luke, wasn't a lack of talent. It wasn't a lack of opportunity. It was that you had two versions of yourself, the Luke of the good days when you were excited, when the company was growing, and the Luke of the difficult days when the crisis hit, when you felt like giving up. And these two Lukes were completely different people. That's what's going to change. As one thing at a time. Now I want to make a point here. At many points in our lives we have these two versions within us, the enthusiastic, motivated version that wants to conquer the world, and the version that wants to give up every minute. What changes the game isn't staying motivated all the time, 24 hours a day, because it's impossible for a human being to stay motivated every single day. What will change your game is understanding that it's on the worst days that your consistency is truly tested. It's when you go for a run, even when it's raining outside. It's when you sit down to study, even when you're unmotivated. It's when you do what needs to be done, even when your body screams at you to spend the day doing nothing. It is at this moment that modern warriors are tested, and it is precisely here that the second lesson comes in. Chapter 4. Fudōshin, the unwavering mind. In the following weeks, Luke and Maximus met every week, and what Maximus taught was unlike any business training Luke had ever done before. In the second session, Maximus arrived with a word written on the board, Fudōshin. Immovable mind, Maximus translated. Fudō means unwavering. Shin means mind. It's a concept that the samurai cultivated as the foundation of everything. The mind that is not moved by external circumstances. How do you develop this? Through something Musashi called mushin, an empty mind, but not in the sense of not thinking, in the sense of not clinging to thoughts, letting fear pass without turning into panic, letting euphoria pass without turning into recklessness, letting doubt pass without turning into paralysis. Luke reflected on his time at the company. When things were going well, he was euphoric and spent more than he should have. When things were going badly, he panicked and made the wrong decisions. He was a slave to circumstances, not a captain, a victim of his own emotional state. Musashi developed Fudōshin not through meditation in the way people think of it today, Maximus continued, but through deliberate exposure to adversity. He sought out the best opponents, not to show he was good, but to test where the mind broke down, to find the cracks and strengthen precisely those points. So you're saying I need to seek out difficulties? I'm saying you need to stop running away from it. There's a difference. Seeking difficulty without purpose is masochism, facing the difficulty that appears on the path to what you want to build, without deviating, without lowering your guard, without changing course. That's Fudōshin. Maximus went to a shelf and returned with a book. It was Dokodo, The Way of Solitude, written by Musashi 7 days before he died, at the age of 61, alone in a cave, probably from cancer. 7 days before he died, Maximus said, a man who had lived the most intense life you can imagine, sat alone in a cave and wrote 21 precepts, the code that guided his life. One of those precepts says, never stray from the path. He placed the book on Luke's desk. Not the way in an abstract spiritual sense, the way as a daily practice, daily action, daily choice. The way is not a destination. It's what you do this morning before everyone else wakes up. It's what you do when you're tired and nobody's looking. It's what you choose when the easy option is right in front of you. What Maximus taught Luke was not invention. It was the convergence of centuries of wisdom with what modern science has spent decades trying to prove. Psychologist James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, wrote that every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to be. This is exactly what Musashi called daily practice as identity building. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman of Stanford University explains that neural consistency, the formation of automatic circuits in the brain, depends on repetition under conditions of discomfort. In other words, your mind only learns to be unshakable when you train it in situations where it wants to break. Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and founder of logotherapy, wrote something that resonates deeply with Musashi's philosophy. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Musashi called this space Mushin, and Musashi himself wrote in the Book of Five Rings, "You may win battles with the sword, but only he who masters himself can win the war." It's not about the opponent. It never was about the opponent. It's always about you. Chapter 5. The day Luke broke. Everything was going well. Luke had begun to put Maximus's teachings into practice. He woke up early. He read. He wrote. He was building a new business, this time with more care, more structure. But then came the month of October. A supplier he had carefully chosen delayed a huge order. The client cancelled the contract. Luke lost $4,000 in a week. The same feeling of bankruptcy began to creep back. The heavy stomach, the circular thinking, the voice that said, you knew it was going to go wrong. Luke didn't attend his weekly meeting with Maximus that week. He texted saying he was sick. Maximus called that same day. "You are not sick." Luke remained silent. What happened? Luke explained everything. And as he recounted it, he realized that the voice in his head was doing the same thing as always, turning a setback into a catastrophe, turning a mistake into proof that he wasn't capable. "Luke," Maximus said, "do you know what Musashi did after the Battle of Sekigahara? He was on the losing side. The Toyotomi lost to the Tokugawa. Many of the samurai who fought on the same side were executed or committed suicide for honor. Musashi was 16 years old. He could have chosen the same path. But he didn't choose. No, he chose the path. He turned his back on defeat as his identity and decided that it was training, that each failure was information, that retreating wasn't giving up. It was reorganizing." Maximus paused. "You lost $4,000. That's real. It hurts. But the Luke I know isn't the Luke who broke the company. You're in the middle of building the opposite of that, and processes have interruptions. The question isn't whether you'll fall. The question is how you choose to get back up." Musashi has a concept for this, Maximus continued. Shikata ganai, accepting what cannot be changed, not as resignation, as clarity. You can't undo what happened this week, but you can choose what you do tomorrow morning. And that choice repeated every day, is what makes you dangerously consistent. Luke went to the meeting the following week, with his notebook, with his questions, with the determination of someone who understood that consistency isn't the absence of setbacks. It's the speed at which you get back up. Chapter 6. Ichinen, the power of an absolute intention. Months later, Maximus introduced a concept that Luke had never heard of before. Ichinen. In Japanese, Maximus explained, Ichinen literally means one thought, one intention. But in the philosophy of warriors, it means something much deeper. It's the ability to put your entire existence into a single moment of action, without reservations, without backup plans, without the mental backup plan you always kept open. Luke understood immediately. He had always kept the financial exit open. If it goes wrong, I get a job. If that doesn't work, I stick with plan B. And that was always the reason why plan A never had its full impact. Musashi never fought with the back exit open, Maximus said. Each duel was treated as if it were his last, not in a melodramatic sense, in the sense that he put everything he had into that moment, into that specific action, without distraction, without divided attention. But how do you do that in business? In a duel, you either live or die. In business, you can fail and try again. You can, and you should. But Musashi never said that Ichinen means gambling everything on a roulette wheel. It means total commitment to the process, not to the specific outcome. You don't control whether the client will buy. You control whether you will wake up early, do better research, create a more solid proposal, and follow up at the right time. These are the moments where Ichinen is applied. Luke wrote, Ichinen, total presence in what is within my control. Do you know what's most interesting about Musashi? Maximus said, pacing the space. He stopped fighting duels at 29, at his peak, undefeated. And what did he do for the rest of his life? He painted, he sculpted, he wrote, he taught, and he applied the same principle of Ichinen to all of it. His paintings of bamboo and birds are considered works of art to this day, because he brought to painting the same quality of presence that he brought to the sword. The principle is transferable, Luke said, more to himself. It always has been. That's why Musashi is as relevant to you, a 21st century American businessman, as he was to 17th century samurai, because he wasn't teaching sword technique, he was teaching a way of life. Here's something most people don't know about Musashi. He wasn't born exceptional. In fact, he had one of the most dysfunctional childhoods you can imagine. He lost his mother early. His father abandoned him. He was raised by an uncle. And at 7 years old, he was already practicing on his own, without a teacher, without a school. The question that researchers have tried to answer for centuries is, what transformed this abandoned boy into the most unbeatable warrior in Japanese history? The answer that appears in his writings, in his letters, in the Gorin no Sho, in the Dokodo, is always the same. It wasn't talent, it wasn't finding the right master or the right philosophy. It was the decision to never stop, made once and renewed every day until the last. Writing the Dokodo 7 days before dying in a cave from cancer, this man was still practicing the consistency that defined every day of his life. And do you know what the last sentence he wrote was? The 21st and final sentence of the Dokodo? Never stray from the path, the way, not Musashi's way, his way. Chapter 7, Who Luke Has Become. A year after that Thursday in Phoenix, Luke Harper sat in the same kind of auditorium where he had met Maximus. But this time, he was on stage. Because the new business he built after bankruptcy was growing steadily and consistently, and he was being invited to speak about the turnaround. Maximus was in the audience, with his usual tea, with the same attentive gaze. Luke began with a question, the same question Maximus had asked a year earlier. How many of you have tried to change something in your lives and failed? And as he watched his hands rise, Luke thought about everything he had learned. That dangerous consistency isn't about never falling. It's about the identity you build in the space between falling and getting back up. Fudōshin, the unwavering mind, is not something you possess. It's something you practice one day at a time until it becomes who you are. Ichinen, the absolute intention, is not about eliminating plan B. It's about not dividing your presence when it matters. Heiho, strategy as a way of being, is not a tool you use in crises. It's the posture you maintain in every decision, every morning, every small choice that no one sees. And all of this was written 400 years ago by a samurai who never lost a duel because he never allowed a single day to go to waste. Luke had not become Musashi. Musashi was never the point. The point was always the same: to become the version of oneself that acts from intention, not impulse, that builds, not out of euphoria, but out of habit, that moves forward, not out of motivation, but out of identity. That's dangerous consistency, and it is available to anyone who decides once and for all never to stray from the path again. Let's recap what we saw in this video. Luke Harper was an entrepreneur who had everything going for him: intelligence, ambition, opportunity, but he lacked the one thing that transforms potential into results: real consistency. Not the consistency of easy days, but the consistency of difficult days, when no one is watching and the easy way out is right in front of you. It was through his mentor Maximus that Luke learned about the philosophy of Miyamoto Musashi, the man who never lost a duel, not because he was the most talented, but because he never separated the warrior from the man. We learned that Fudōshin, the unwavering mind, is not a state you find. It's something you build, fall down, rebuild, fall down, and rebuild again, until it becomes part of who you are. Ichinen, absolute intention, is the difference between someone who does something hoping it will work out and someone who does something because they decided they will do it, regardless of what comes their way. Musashi's Heiho, strategy as a way of life, is the answer to that age-old question of why some people are unwavering and others are not. It's not luck, it's not genetics, it's accumulated practice, invisible, silent, day after day. And the Dokodo, Musashi's last text, written 7 days before his death, ends with the same phrase that can summarize everything we've seen here: never stray from the path. Your path. What you build every morning with the choices no one sees. That's what makes you dangerously consistent. Apply these concepts to your life. Whether it's your personal life, professional life, studies, training, it doesn't matter. Just apply this to any area and you will see the difference, and you will become dangerously consistent. Because you will be able to achieve any goal no matter how long it takes. You will remain consistently steadfast. This video is for you who are tired of failing when motivation disappears, for you who are only motivated when someone is watching. It's time to break this cycle. If this video helped you in any way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This helps me continue delivering this content to you and to more people who need it. But don't stop here. Continue this learning journey by clicking on the video that's appearing on your screen, and comment below what you thought of this content. Until the next video. And remember, never stray from the path.